welcome to episode 2 of the 1-and-1 College Basketball Podcast. I'm here with Logan Kamelhar again. And this week we're going to talk about the matchups that just happened as college basketball has thankfully started up again. And we're going to talk about the matchups coming up this week, have our opinions, and yeah. So for the first matchup of the college basketball season, a great game. I was there at the Garden for the Champs Classic. Was MSU Kansas. Kansas won 87-74. I think both teams are going to be great. I think Kansas, I said it last week, I have them win the national championship. I still think that they are the best team in the country. Abaji dropped 30 on MSU, a gritty defense. Didn't look good. Didn't expect MSU to look really that good. They did it last season, the last couple seasons. They always start the season slow, but Izzo's teams always end up being better. I think that Remy Martin is going to be an unreal leader for them. I didn't think McCormick played well at all, actually, but that's credit to Marcus Bingham in the paint. What do you think about that game, Luke?
I thought it was a good game. I thought Michigan State definitely played better than I thought they would majority of the game. I think the score doesn't really show kind of how competitive it really was because, Kansas ran away with it kind of at the end of the game. But on Kansas's side, obviously Abaji kind of showed who he really is because he's the guy now. He's been there for, 3 years now?
Yeah, he's junior.
And he's always played, but he's always been behind a guy or two. But now he's the number one guy, and he's showing. Even in their second game, he put up another 27 points. So that was very entertaining to watch.
Yeah.
But also, offensively for them, Remy Martin really showed that. I feel like he always kind of makes the right play because he was very patient. For a guy that was seen to be All-American, top players in the country, he only shot the ball once in the first half.
Yeah, I don't even know if he had a shot in the first half, honestly.
Yeah, I'm not even sure.
Yeah, I'm pretty sure he had none, and he ended up having 4 assists in the first half, and he still ends up with 16 points at the end of the game.
Well, just the man can shoot the ball.
Yeah, it's just
he got hot and didn't miss.
As the season goes on, because like we said last week, Jalen Wilson's out for it is a 4-game suspension, but who knows? It could end up being more. They could keep extending it because the DUI arrest he had obviously could lead to further penalties. But you can just tell, from the first half to the second half, how comfortable Remy Martin was getting in 20 minutes of play. That's unreal for a point guard. They also there's the 2 freshmen coming off the bench. Zach Clements gave him 5 minutes, and they were quality minutes. Their point guard, I think Radiford, was giving him quality defensive minutes.
Yeah.
Pettiford was giving him quality.
Yes, Pettiford.
Yeah, Pettiford. He was giving him quality minutes. Kansas, and they're going to be deep. They're going to be deep.
They are deep.
Brown was he was barely a show, but he's still there too. He can knock down the 3. So we know what Kansas is capable of. Their expectations should be nothing less than the Big 12 championship. Now to focus more on MSU on how they played. Watching them, the new point guard Tyson Walker, transfer from Northeastern. I think he's going to be good. He got into foul trouble early, which absolutely sucked because I wanted to see him play the whole game. He's one of those guys that's going to play 38 minutes a game for us. I really think he could. But AJ Hoggard, man, looked unreal. I think he lost 20 pounds in the
Yeah,
offseason.
they were talking about that on the TV podcast, like cast, whatever
Yeah.
it's called.
He is quicker. Just what Izzo needs is that guy that can
Yeah,
make that the tempo quicker for them. Get a defensive rebound and push the ball down the court. Hogard showed that. Tyson Walker is going to show that. The one person I was very impressed with too was Bingham. I mean,
yeah, he
he was
played very well.
he was dominant. I mean, I think he outplayed McCormick. I don't think
I mean, he
McCormick
did.
was that great.
He did. I agree. McCormick didn't really show much.
Yeah.
I mean, obviously it's just one game, but
yeah. I mean, I wanted to hear what your opinion of MSU is, because in my opinion, right now they're not a top 25 team. But I think as the season goes on, just like all MSU teams, really, they always get better. I think this team can end up being a top 15 team in the country.
yeah, I agree. I feel like you don't really expect them to be that right now.
Yeah,
Because like they got a lot of new players, a lot of guys that are filling different roles. So what you said about Holgard, obviously taking a much bigger role this year. He's even though he did lose weight, he's much quicker this year. He's still big for a guard, very big. Like he has size. Also, Max Christie didn't look great, didn't look bad. I mean, he didn't shoot well, but I mean, first game playing at the Garden against one of the best teams in the country, you can't really expect the guy to go
he's got
10 for 10.
Yeah.
I mean, like, he'll probably step up in future games. He'll get better. He'll take more of a role because I feel like a lot of time he's not like, I feel like I was just always off the ball and not really getting into the flow of the game. So I feel like he'll definitely take a bigger role when later in the season.
Yeah. When the thing with Max Christie that I noticed was that he moves off the ball quickly, and his shooting stroke is pure. Like, even though they didn't fall, like, you can tell once he gets comfortable in the offense, once he gets rolling, just a little bit of like just finding it, he could be a lights out scorer, NBA prospect, in my opinion. I mean, I think Max Christie could end up being a really good player. Hopefully he stays all 4 years. I highly doubt it, but I think that he's going to be good. So moving on from this game, was a great way to start off the Champs Classic. A tough loss though, as a Michigan State fan, but I think they're going to bounce back, like I said. The second game was an unreal game. Duke versus Kentucky.
That was definitely.
Trevor Keels is a stud. Like, there's no other way to put it. He's a stud. He's big. He can handle the ball.
He's huge.
He's huge. For a point guard, he can shoot the ball. He can get to the basket. Like, the only thing that I noticed with him was that he doesn't use his left hand a lot. He's very right hand dominant, which I think teams will start to figure out as the season goes on, because obviously he's only a freshman. But Duke's roster is insane. I mean, Keels was great. Obviously, Bonchero he got hurt a little.
But still,
I think they said he had I don't even know. Maybe it was a.
I think it was just like cramping.
Yeah,
I don't think it was anything serious.
I thought Moore was playing much better, especially playmaking. He was racking up assists.
I feel like he's been making the right plays.
Yeah, and
I think he had a triple double.
Yeah, not against Kentucky, but the second.
In the second.
After they played this Army. I think they played Army, and he had a triple double that game. Their big man Williams. I actually think that Mark Williams could be NBA talent as well, even though he can't really shoot much. But I think he has NBA talent. And then Theo John.
I mean, off the bench, Theo John's great. I mean, like, He doesn't come off the bench on many teams.
Exactly.
I can tell you
Exactly.
that.
That's the thing. I think that Duke. I don't even. Are they top 5 right now rated or very
Yeah,
close
they
to top?
just moved in. They just moved to 5. I'm pretty sure.
Yeah, so they definitely deserve to be there. Now on to Kentucky. I want to hear your opinion about Kentucky and how they played.
Um, I mean, I think they showed flashes of what they could be. I think obviously having a top freshman, Ty Washington,
What a
he
horrible game.
he did not have a good game. But I mean, I can't imagine him playing like that for the rest of the season.
Exactly.
I mean, Oscar Tshiebwe was, I mean, almost dominant inside when he was on the court. I mean, he did have some foul trouble, couldn't stay on the court the whole time, but he definitely could be a big piece on that team.
Yeah, for sure.
And
I
then
thought I thought
Severe
that
Wheeler is supposed like he's a big playmaker. I feel like in that game definitely turned the ball over more than he is used to, which
yeah,
is a big deal for them. I mean, those three guys are obviously going to be their best players throughout the season. So if they could get those guys to consistently play well together, then they'll
yeah,
be pretty good.
they'll
I
be
don't
right
think
at
they
the
have
top of the
much to worry
SEC.
about.
Yeah, they'll be at the top of the SEC. I mean, Sheway, the last 2 or 3 games has averaged like 17 rebounds a game.
Yeah.
The Sheway is an interesting player because transfer from West Virginia, which shout out to Zach Rosenfeld, should not have transferred from West Virginia. They would have had an unreal squad last year. Actually, if he didn't get into foul trouble, they would have beat Gonzaga. But anyway, um, he's going to be a huge piece for them. But the thing about him is he's not coordinated. Like he's not athletic. He just knows how
Yeah.
to rebound and put the ball back in the hoop. That's like all he
Yeah.
knows how to do and play defense. Can't shoot, can't do anything else. But what he does well is rebounding, and he's the best top 3 in the country at it.
Yeah.
It's
Yeah.
crazy. And with Wheeler, the way that Wheeler was playing, I didn't realize how well his 3-point shot was. It's
Yeah.
way better than I thought it was.
He did look good shooting the ball.
Yeah, he's quick. I also think that Kellen Grady, the transfer from Davidson, I think his shot is so
It's
smooth.
gorgeous. It's gorgeous.
It's smooth.
I swear, I don't. There are a few guys that just say they don't miss. That guy, even when he does miss, I feel like every shot he takes is gonna go in.
Yeah, it's really like he's like that backwards feeding shot that is just pure. Like once they're also a chemistry team that they have a lot of
a lot of new
transfers,
pieces.
they got the freshman Washington, and they have the experienced Keon Brooks. Once they click, that's another team that's going to be a problem. And the same thing with Duke. They're young, but they have experience. Once they click, I mean, these 4 teams in this championships classic are teams that you don't want to face as the season goes on. But obviously, MSU's the only one not ranked, but you don't want to face, especially with these head coaches, these top head coaches, you don't want to face these teams as the years go on. So great event, the Championships Classic. They actually announced the matchups next year is Kansas Duke, MSU Kentucky. So that is exciting. I will, if it's at the Garden again, I will be back there. I will definitely be going. Moving on to the next big game from this week. It was a Friday night, 11:30 Eastern time start. Absolutely love it because I had work Friday afternoon, was able to come home and watch basically the entire game. UCLA Villanova at UCLA. I thought it was a great game from start to finish.
Yeah.
See, this is where I think Nova is very experienced and a very good team. Gillespie's like your prototypical college point guard that everyone wants, but they have a depth issue, in my opinion. I don't like when teams go 6 deep. You have 5 starters and 1 bench piece. I think, especially because it's weird to say they're old for college kids.
Yeah.
They're in their not
old.
upper 20s, but like 22, 23, these kids. Gillespie coming off an ACL tear. I mean, I think that it's gonna wear down on Nova as the season progresses. They might have been missing one guy who was hurt. I could be wrong on that, but I'm pretty sure they were missing someone. But if I think it was Slater, if he didn't get into foul trouble and Archie Akino didn't come in, it would have been a 6-man rotation. I think that Nova has some flaws, but I want to hear your opinion on the game in general.
The game in general, very, very, very entertaining to watch, I have to say. I mean, I feel like it was two very opposite teams. Villanova's kind of just play the right way, win the game, score, play defense kind of thing.
Yeah.
UCLA's I wouldn't say flashy, but much less much more exciting, I feel like, in terms of shooting, and I feel like it's more one-on-one. A lot of just get the ball to your best guy, and whoever's hot, make a play. And so that was very interesting to watch the two different sides. And I mean, the first half, I want to say it was tied at halftime, and Juzang was won for his first 9.
Yeah.
So that showed a lot for UCLA to stay in that game, because even though Nova does have their flaws and whatever, their 6 that they do run with are a very good 6.
Yeah, exactly.
So as much as that probably did hurt them in overtime, and probably will hurt them later in the season towards the tournament. I mean, in an individual game, it's still very impressive to see UCLA come back and play with the top level team the way they did. Kind of showed that they weren't. It started showing that last year's run wasn't really a fluke, and it was like they're really there to play.
Exactly, because UCLA, there's a couple plays in last year's tournament. If they don't go to OT with MSU, who knows what they're ranked right now? Or if Herb Jones hits a free throw, they're out in the Sweet 16. It's like, who knows where this team would be ranked right now? Because if they didn't go to the Final Four, there's no way UCLA is ranked. There's no way. So to show that they can compete with Nova at home, come back. I mean, they were down 10 with like
in the second half.
Yeah, with like 7 minutes to go. They came back, fought all the way back, sent it to overtime, and then took care of business in overtime. Obviously, the home crowd helps them, even though I thought the Pavilion Center would be a little bit louder. I thought it was a little weak for such a big game like this. But I think that UCLA, and I was wrong because I thought that Nova would go in there, take care of business. UCLA is a little overrated because of what I was saying before about last year's March Madness run. It could have been a fluke. Definitely wasn't a fluke. They're a good team. They were also missing Cody Riley, one of their more experienced paint beast players. They did an unreal job. I was impressed with UCLA. And the thing that I love about these 3 games that we talked about is that these teams put together a non-conference schedule that's not easy. Like, you need this for March Madness games down the stretch, for big conference games down the stretch. You need true road games in your schedule to know what you have in your team or some flaws or who do I want to play down the stretch. I just think that it's huge to have these. And this is going to lead us to our next game, our final game of a nice first week of college basketball.
Very nice first week.
Another late start, West Coast, Texas at Gonzaga. Logan, what was your opinion on this game and these two teams?
Yeah, going into it, I thought Texas had more of a chance than they ended up having in that game. I thought their talent kind of would show. I thought that, to be honest, I didn't think Gonzaga was really at that high of a level yet. But Drew Timme definitely came out and showed why he's arguably the best player in the country, putting up 37 points, which is a lot in a college game. Like, that's about a point a minute.
Yeah.
Like, that's crazy. Like,
insane.
I mean, I thought a big factor was the size. I feel like Texas lacked size in that game compared to Gonzaga. I mean, Gonzaga is a bigger team, and with Holmgren and Timme. I mean, Holmgren didn't even really do much. He kind of was just playing in the game.
Yeah. The thing with Holmgren was like he wasn't effective scoring, but you can tell his presence was a problem for Texas.
Yeah. Yeah, he like that showed a lot for him too as a young player to not really be effective in the part of the game where a lot of people look at that like, oh, you scored this many points, and to go out there and just do what you have to do for your team to win, really. I mean, that shows a lot. And I mean, they just dominated the entire game. Like,
yeah.
And I feel like with their high pace, they kind of play fast. They get out, they run. I mean, they always do that. They did that last year. So, I mean, once they get some sort of lead, it's hard to really crawl back especially when you can't stop the biggest guy on the court because you just don't have anyone big enough to guard him. I mean,
for sure. I mean, the thing with Texas is the talent is there, and everyone knows the talent is there. Like, they got 6 of the top 30 transfers from the portal. They returned 3 or 4 guys, but Texas needs to figure out their chemistry, and they will figure it out. We know they'll figure it out.
I know they will.
This is like I was saying before about building a true non-conference road games. Chris Beard said it after the game. He said that basically he was saying that you have to get these true road games into your schedule to make your players learn from this and see what your strengths are. I thought that Marcus Carr is great. I think he's a great player. I think that he's got to be more of a facilitator for them. He's got to get to the basket more. I saw him chucking up a couple threes. That's not really his game. He's more of a ISO guy. Let me get to the basket, maybe a step back mid-range shot, something like that. Trey Mitchell, I was not impressed with at all. I thought he was in the A-10, one of the best interior players offensively and defensively. I thought he was great. But against Gonzaga, Drew Timme just tore him apart. Literally every part of that, every offensive possession for Timme was dominance. It was complete dominance. The Gonzaga transfer, Rasir Bolton from Iowa State, I thought he was awesome. He had a 20-plus scoring night. Gonzaga's good. I mean, Gonzaga's really, really good this year. And like you were saying with their fast pace that Mark Few has, it felt like once Gonzaga was up 8, Texas had no chance coming back because
Yeah,
Beard likes to play a little slower, and that place was rocking.
that
That was that
that was
Gonzaga's home game was way louder than UCLA, and Gonzaga is a mid-major team. I mean, obviously they're still like top 5,
yeah,
top 3, but that place was rocking. Texas has some things to figure out. Gonzaga looks good, but I think that Gonzaga can still improve on a couple things. I didn't think Nemhart played that great. I think that Holmgren will figure himself out as a college player. They'll get going a lot more, but they're definitely a team to fear for the future because they have a big non-conference schedule coming up. They play Duke, and
they play UCLA next week.
Yeah, and they got UCLA. They have Duke and UCLA next week. I'm pretty sure.
Yeah.
So
I think UCLA will match up better than
100%.
Texas did.
Yeah, because back to UCLA, real quick. Miles Johnson was great defensively. His interior defense was great. Just wanted to touch on that real quick. So those were the exciting games for this week. There was a couple great upsets we saw. We were talking about it before the show started. UC Riverside over Arizona State. I mean, that buzzer beater just shows that college basketball is back. It just shows college basketball is back. Not going to brag, had UC Riverside money line plus 340, just to throw it out there. But it's just that half court or 3/4 of a court buzzer beater was also like, it just shows college basketball is back. And real quick, the Texas Gonzaga game. If you saw the half court shot at the buzzer that cashed the first half over, that was awesome. So that was an unreal. Just college basketball is awesome. Now for this week, because this is a big week for certain teams that we're going to talk about. Because these teams, in my opinion, I think they don't really know who they are yet. They need these true top 20 games. They need these in their schedule because they've played pretty weak teams so far. So the first team we're going to talk about is Villanova at Tennessee. Villanova, obviously, they've played their big game, their experience. They know it's to come. But when you're playing at Tennessee, it's not an easy place to play. So I wanted to hear your thoughts on this game. It's a 4 versus 18 matchup. So I want to hear your thoughts. Who you think could win? Who do you think is going to be an X factor? What do you think?
Yeah, I mean, obviously, top 25 matchup, anything could happen. I mean, I think it'll be a good game. I mean, Tennessee has played well in their first 2 games. Haven't really played anyone, but they still did what they had to do. I mean, I was just looking at the stats. What was I gonna say? Yeah. Kennedy Chandler, their freshman, has been playing great in the 2 games that they played. I mean, he's put up 20 and 4, and then 16, 5 and 6. I mean, you don't get much more than that out of a freshman. And I mean, for Villanova, I mean, you want to come off that loss with a win. I mean, I think Villanova, with the experience they have this season against UCLA going to overtime, I definitely don't think Tennessee is the same level of team as UCLA. So I definitely think Villanova will be able to take care of business and win that game. So
yeah, I definitely agree. With Tennessee this year, honestly, they haven't even played any meaningful games for me to watch Tennessee this year. But what I do know is they have a bunch of guys. I mean, they lost Keon Johnson last year, and they lost Jaden Springer. But I know they have two key guys returning. Their last year's point guard in Vescovi and
Mhm.
their big man, who I think small forward, power forward, who I think's NBA talent is Josiah James. I think that Josiah Scott James or Josiah James, whatever it is. I'm pretty sure it's Josiah James. But this year I was looking into Tennessee basketball a little bit more, and Kennedy Chandler, their 5-star, has been unreal this year, is now their main point guard, and Vescovi is a great three-point shooter, is now working off the ball, which is going to be much better for Tennessee this season.
Yeah.
And as the season progresses. But now you got to face Villanova, who's already had a big road game under their belt this early in the season. I think Tennessee's going to be rocking. The place is going to go crazy.
Mhm.
We all know that. But I think that just Villanova, even though they're not deep and Tennessee is definitely much deeper, they're just more. I mean, this is just a talent game. I mean, just
Yeah.
Villanova is a more talented, experienced roster than Tennessee is. It's just
Mhm.
that simple. I think Villanova wins this game, not easily, because obviously it's never easy to go into an SEC team and just blow them out. But I
Mhm.
think Villanova can control the tempo of this game. I think they play at their fair pace. Um, they'll just be gritty. They'll do what they need to do. Jay Wright will have a plan. They go in there, they win the game, they get out. I
Mhm.
mean, that's just how it's going to be. Um,
Yeah.
but we just wanted to touch on that game because it is a top 18 matchup this week.
Mhm.
So definitely want to touch on that a little bit. Now, in my opinion, is the best game of the week. UNC at Purdue. So my opinion on this game is this is going to be a great matchup. Like both teams match up fairly well. Jaden Ivey, point guard, was electric the first 2 3 games
Electric.
of the season. He is a stud, NBA talent as well. On UNC's end, they obviously have Caleb Love. They return a couple guys. I'm pretty sure Leaky Black is still there. Leaky
Armando
Black,
Bacot.
yeah, Leaky Black's been a stud. And then they have Baycott, Garcia from Marquette, Manick from Oklahoma. I mean, these guys, 15-point per game scorers throughout the whole season. But Purdue is home here. And we know, especially me as an MSU fan, knowing how hard it is to go into Purdue and try to beat them. It's just not
Yeah.
easy. I don't think USC can pull it off, but I do think that this is an important game for UNC as they will end up playing at Duke this year. They also play like at Florida State. So this crowd at Purdue is going to be as tough as a Duke crowd. Honestly, I honestly believe that, even though obviously Cameron Indoor is unreal crowd, Purdue's crowd is just a tough place to play. Definitely a game that UNC could use for their non-conference, and a game that Purdue needs as well, as they're facing a top 20 team in the country. Big Ten play is not going to be easy this year.
Mhm.
So I think that Purdue will handle business, but I want to hear what you think about this game.
Yeah. I mean, I agree. I think Purdue will definitely show up, win the game. I feel like, especially at home, definitely tough place to come into and play for UNC. But I feel like it, assuming Purdue does come out with the win, I feel like that's not a huge full loss on the day for UNC. I feel like going into the game, their main, I mean, obviously they want to win, but as much as they want to win, I feel like their number one goal is to kind of see where they're at, kind of get the experience of what that atmosphere and that playing a top level team like that is like. So just being able to play that game, assuming they even play in a tight, close game, will be very, very beneficial for them moving forward to play Duke and what I mean, I don't know if they have any other non-conference games, but I'm sure
Yeah.
they do. Um, so for the future in the season, I mean, they're obviously expected to be in the NCAA tournament, assuming nothing crazy happens,
Yeah.
but
I just
just
I
for
just
future games,
I
it's
was
very
looking,
important.
I'm looking now at UNC schedule, and they have at Purdue, they have a home game against Michigan, which is big, and then a
Yeah,
home game against UCLA. So they've
yeah,
definitely packed up their non-conference schedule
yeah,
as well. Um, I'm excited for these two teams. I also wanted to talk about Travion Williams. He's a stud. I think he's going to be great for Purdue, as he's been basically all 4 years there
yeah.
um, with Purdue. So I think it's gonna be a close game. I think Purdue pulls it off. I'm excited to watch it. But yeah, is there any other games that we would like to talk about? I mean, that's really
Yeah,
the slate. It's not a
yeah,
boring, because college basketball is never boring, but
yeah,
it's just the non-conference games. I mean, it's a little Houston, Virginia, but Virginia lost a brutal game. But I mean, that's just really it.
yeah.
Yeah. All right. So I think that will do for
For episode
episode
2.
2 of One and One College Basketball Podcast. Hopefully, for the future, we will have special guests on here. We will see what happens. Thank you guys for listening.
Thank you guys.
And that is it.
Peace.
Peace out.